Symphony of Villainy. Once Dacheldor and Prime realized the Great Smith's book was in the library of Castle Darkfire, they developed a plan to infiltrate Limbo and steal it. They needed the book if they were ever going to create a new set of limit bracers, but they had to make sure to keep Bylon and Darkfire from realizing what they were after. They staged a number of attacks on various facilities in Limbo, making sure to draw Darkfire's eye without using so much power as to attract Zeven's awareness. These attacks led to rumors of Dacheldor's return, spreading throughout the Empire. Unsure if the mystery attacker really was Dacheldor, Darkfire cautiously sent only a few members of the Empire to investigate. The new head general, a man named after his former wanted posters, John the Paladin, sent his brightest lieutenant, Aetius Lamni, to determine if the threat was really Dacheldor. She brought Captain Den with her, who had known Dacheldor better than anyone outside of the generals, and used his starship to travel to the scenes of the various incidents. Aetius and Den tried to predict Dacheldor's plans, but his actions seemed erratic. They remained at least one step behind him at every turn. Then, on the planet Dartoga, something unexpected happened. Dacheldor and Prime attacked an armored vehicle and stole a data crystal, containing a fully detailed map of Castle Darkfire. The crystal also contained schematics of Darkfire's secret projects, which were to be delivered to an unnamed resident of the planet. Prime seemed aware this had been their target the whole time, but Dacheldor had expected the transport to be carrying a princess. His plan had originally been to capture her in a few days as she was being presented to Darkfire for her coronation. A being whose physicality made him immune to most of Dacheldor's abilities guarded the transport. Out of a need to pull upon more of his own strength, Dacheldor unlatched one of his bracers, causing a shockwave of energy to erupt. He covered himself in his green ethereal flames and made short work of the enemy. He then reattached the bracer to his arm. This was one of the benefits of being able to easily remove the new bracers. When Dacheldor needed access to more of his power, he could simply remove one. The downside of this was that the resulting shockwave alerted anyone with the ability to sense energy to his location. Aetius and Den felt the shockwave as they were not far from the planet. Bylon, Darkfire, and John the Paladin felt the shockwave all the way back at Castle Darkfire. Zeven felt the shockwave in his massive black starship. Dacheldor and Prime retreated from the scene with the data crystal in hand, and made their way to the primary kingdom of Dartoga. Shortly after they arrived, Aetius and Den entered the kingdom along with a battalion of Limbo Imperial soldiers. Dacheldor kidnapped the princess, who he had originally believed to be in the transport, and held her hostage inside the central ziggurat of the kingdom. Aetius and the soldiers surrounded the ziggurat, but held their positions. Using his skills as an assassin, Den infiltrated the ziggurat undetected. He made contact with Dacheldor and asked him what he was planning. Of course, Dacheldor could not answer, but Den proposed a truce anyway. He claimed he could act as a double agent, spying on Dacheldor for Darkfire while secretly helping Dacheldor as well. Dacheldor was unsure why Den would admit to being a double agent, but felt his friend's assistance would actually aid in his plan. Darkfire, knowing his movements, would work more to his benefit than against him, and Den sending that information in secret made it easier to hide from Zeven. Den leapt up to the window and shouted down to Aetius and the others, "Don't worry, guys, I'm all right. I just switched sides." This enraged and emboldened the soldiers, and Aetius chose to mount a full attack. Dacheldor tore through the soldiers with ease, slaughtering them as he strode down the steps of the ziggurat. When he came to Aetius, he challenged her one-on-one, bested her, and nearly killed her. Their fighting was interrupted by a beam of light striking the ground from the heavens. It was a teleportation beam from a Limbo Imperial starship. John the Paladin had just arrived on the surface. Dacheldor had hated John since the day he had first met Darkfire. John was an ally of Bylon's from before they knew Dacheldor. He was also a student of time manipulation, mostly skilled in reviving those fallen in combat, but also able to manipulate whole aspects of the battlefield. He was a powerful adversary, fit for the title of head general, but what Dacheldor did not like about him was his zealous personality. John worshipped Darkfire as a god and believed his every word was divine law. Dacheldor could not stand such a submissive attitude. Prime warned Dacheldor that there was not time to fight John the Paladin, but he did not listen. The two locked blades in a battle that nearly destroyed the entire kingdom. At one point, John looked as if he had taken a fatal blow and was down for good. But as Dacheldor turned away, Aetius healed John, herself a student of his teachings, and John rose to fight Dacheldor again. In orbit, another starship attacked the Limbo Imperial starship John had arrived on, as well as Den's starship. This massive ship was wrapped in black substances that looked like flesh. It fired multiple cannons, destroying both vessels. It sent out capture drones to bring any intact bodies on board. A beam of light fired from the ship, landing in the kingdom and obliterating more than 70 onlookers. In the crater the blast produced, two beings had teleported down, Lord Zeven and Daramal. Though both were after Dacheldor, Daramal was instructed to take down John, and Zeven moved to attack Dacheldor. Knowing the need for more power in this battle, Dacheldor removed one of the limit bracers, and the same shockwave exploded out of him. He battled Zevin with the help of Den while Prime stayed hidden from the scene. John and Asius battled Darmal, who seemed to fight with the ferocity of two opponents working in tandem. Zevin used his red etheric flames to raise masses of the undead, but these were little more than a nuisance. The real power of Zevin's flames were only revealed when Dacheldor inadvertently made contact with them. His body froze, as if controlled by Zevin. He had known Zevin could control dead bodies with these flames, but had no idea he could control the living. Dacheldor felt his own hand reaching for his other bracer. Under the influence of Zevin, he was about to remove them both. He screamed as he tried to fight this power, then time stopped. At first, he believed Prime was behind this, but Prime was still absent from the scene. A man in massive golden armor strode into the distance and motioned to Dacheldor. It was Bylon. Only Dacheldor and Bylon could move with time stopped around them. This made Bylon shake his head. Now he knew beyond a doubt that Dacheldor was an aberration. He asked Dacheldor about his bracers, and Dacheldor explained that he had already merged with his ancient self. He expressed to Bylon the need for the bracers to hold back his power. As he did, Prime materialized next to him, also able to move in the frozen time. Bylon could not see Prime, but Dacheldor knew his presence meant he could not share any more information with Bylon. Bylon was genuinely surprised Dacheldor had found a solution to the problem he had been unable to solve. Taking Den and Asius with him, Bylon teleported himself and Dacheldor to a cavern elsewhere on the planet. This cavern was Bylon's secret home, and the original delivery destination of the crystal Dacheldor and Prime had stolen. It was here that he practiced time manipulation and built devices for the Empire. Prime also appeared within the cavern, able to go anywhere Dacheldor went. He seemed overjoyed to be inside his adversary's secret home, and took to exploring it. As he did, Dacheldor and Bylon exchanged words, but Dacheldor divulged no further secrets. Bylon's primary concerns were why Dacheldor had kept being an aberration a secret, and with whom he was working. Dacheldor explained his mistrust of Bylon due to the events of the battle with the Overlord in every other timeline. Bylon understood and accepted this reason for Dacheldor's secretive action, but still continued to push to find out whom he was working with. Dacheldor insisted there was no one, but Bylon knew this was a lie. He was furious with Dacheldor, but chose to allow him to go in peace, claiming this made them even for what happened with the Overlord. Dacheldor agreed, and headed for an exit to the cavern, accompanied by Den and Prime. Asius also came along, needing to find her way back to the Empire. Den vouched for her, so the others let her accompany them. Before Dacheldor left completely, Bylon said one final thing to him.
I don't know whom you're working with, but if it is the person I suspect, you cannot trust him. He's a monster that sought to destroy all the balance in the cosmos since before I became a Time Lord.
Dacheldor turned back and asked whom Bylon was referring to. He simply said,
Prime the Fireside.
Dacheldor and the others left, entering the jungle of Dartoga. As they did, time returned to normal and the fight in Dartoga's main kingdom concluded. Darmal bested and beheaded John the Paladin, tossing his head at the feet of Lord Zevin. Zevin returned to his ship with plans to scan the planet's surface for any signs of Dacheldor, while Darmal remained behind to try to track Dacheldor's whereabouts. He smelled the air for the spiritual scent of Dacheldor and, though Dacheldor had teleported to another location, he could pick up enough scent to know what direction he was in now. He followed the scent while staying in constant contact with Zevin. At Castle Darkfire, a computer terminal used to track the life force of all members of the Limbo Imperial military displayed the death of John the Paladin. Darkfire rallied his fleet of starships, nicknamed the Armada, and headed it in his personal warship. Within moments, they appeared above the planet Dartoga, swarming Zevin's ship. They pounded it with everything they had, obliterating it and him to dust. Darmal heard the communications go silent. He knew Zevin had been killed, and it would likely take years for him to find a new host. For now, Darmal would have to search for Dacheldor on his own. Darkfire teleported to the planet's surface along with a battalion of soldiers and a specialized tracker. This tracker was a furline, a species once related to cats that had the ability to smell spiritual scents in the air, much like Darmal had. Using her guidance, Darkfire and the soldiers ended up on a similar trajectory as Darmal. When Darkfire starships began orbiting the planet, Asius became aware of their arrival. She made an agreement with Den and Dacheldor not to give away their position, and they allowed her to contact the fleet. She was teleported back to the ships, but only after the others had gotten far enough away not to be detected by scanners. Dacheldor secretly hoped this would bring Darkfire to him. It was part of his plan to eventually be caught, but Asius remained true to her word. Darmal made his way to a trade city close to Dacheldor's location. He had lost Dacheldor's scent and hoped he may have already been through there. In asking the locals if they had any knowledge of Dacheldor, Darmal happened upon a strange man sitting in the shadows of a bar. He introduced himself as the Vampire Lord, Vorn. Darmal spent some time in Vorn's company, and Vorn found he liked this strange ancient. He gave him very little information on Dacheldor, but offered him an allegiance. If Darmal ever needed transport through the Shadowfold, Vorn would allow it. In exchange, he would call on Darmal in the future. Once the two parted ways, Darmal headed into a shop to ask some more questions, but stopped when he noticed through a window that Darkfire and his soldiers had entered the city. He assumed they were seeking the killer of John the Paladin and did his best to hide. His right arm noticed a number of objects in the store that were out of order and started grabbing and shuffling them to try to put things right. The shopkeeper mistook this for stealing and sounded an alarm bell. Daramal retreated, but was spotted by Darkfire, who questioned him about Dacheldor and John. The tracker informed Darkfire that Daramal's scent had been at the scene of John's death, so Daramal confessed his guilt. He did his best to explain that he had killed John under orders from his master Zevin, who was now dead. Darkfire leered and said, "So then, you are in the market for a new master?" Daramal was astonished by the opportunity and saw it as his best way to find Dacheldor. He agreed to work for Darkfire, who took him under his wing and said he would be officially made part of the Empire upon the success of their mission. Together, they continued following Darkfire's tracker, who had a much keener sense of spiritual smell. The tracker led them to Bylon's caverns, which Darkfire recognized. He could not help but wonder if his brother had encountered Dacheldor and, if so, why he had not informed him. Venturing into the cavern, he and the others passed through waves of temporal distortion, causing some to relive moments from their past, some to see alternate present moments that had existed, and some to see alternate futures of past timelines. Darkfire beheld a vision of Dacheldor with black eyes and a black left arm. It was terrifying, but he did not know what it meant. Elsewhere, Dacheldor, Den, and Prime procured a ship to transport off-planet without alerting attention. They were unaware Zevin had been killed, and did not want to overuse abilities that might alert him to their presence. They traveled into the depths of space and to a location Prime assured would interest them. Here sat the home of a being known as the Keeper of the Cosmos. This being, which appeared as a cross between a rabbit, duck, and humanoid, was said to be from beyond the current cosmos. His home was removed from time, causing everything and everyone who lived there to be as aberrations while within it. He also was said to be the keeper of knowledge from before the time of this cosmos. When the three arrived, their primary reason was to steal waters from the lakes surrounding the keeper's home. This water, called the temporal water, was the liquid Prime and the Great Smith had used to make Dacheldor's bracers stay unstuck in time. They would need more to do the same with his next bracers, and also planned to use the water on the Great Smith's book when they found it. As Prime filled canteens with the liquid, he also ran it over the data crystal they had procured from Castle Darkfire, just in case. Dacheldor investigated the keeper's home while Prime gathered the waters. He told Den they were looking to loot the place, and this kept him from realizing anything about the water. Den made his way to a vault room and worked to pick the lock, while Dacheldor examined murals on an ancient wall that seemed to depict events at the birth of the cosmos. Den managed to get several bags full of precious materials, but inadvertently alerted the guards of the keeper's home. Together with Dacheldor, they battled their way back to the ship where Prime was waiting for them. Once outside of the bounds of the temporal field around the keeper's home, the guards did not chase them any farther. They landed on a nearby planet, and Den prepared to inventory his haul, but his body started to fade right before Dacheldor and Prime's eyes. Time started to move backward, undoing most of what had just occurred. Though the crystal and temporal waters remained in Dacheldor and Prime's possession, they soon found themselves back at the exact time and place where they had first returned to Limbo when they began this plan. Zevin was alive again, John the Paladin was alive again, and no attacks on the Empire's facilities had occurred yet. They were unsure who had reversed time, but had a feeling it was Bylon or Darkfire. What they did not know was the decision to do so had come from the discussion Darkfire had with his brother upon entering the caverns. The two had discussed Dacheldor, and Bylon had told Darkfire everything. Darkfire had not been as sympathetic to Bylon's cause as he would have liked. He seemed to side with Dacheldor's point of view, and even mused about making amends with him. In response, Bylon reversed time with plans to keep his brother from ever learning the truth of what was going on. Now, back at the point in time when Dacheldor and Prime had first returned to Limbo, Dacheldor had no choice but to lay low. Unlike before, he could not simply repeat past actions. Bylon knew he was an aberration now. If he tried the same actions again, Bylon would be waiting for him.